All right, Gina Hendrix, this has been a really, really fun conversation. Uh, I learned a lot. David, I know learned a lot. We got one last question for you. We call this leveling up with TKM. David, over to you for that question.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Gina. Hey, the question is, what is the most impactful action that you have taken to level up in your home and in your business?
Well, hope this counts. But when I was first kind of reinventing myself, because before I became a matchmaker, I wasn't really a business person. I didn't have to be as a stylist. So there was a lot of areas in my life where I wasn't bringing my A game and doing as much as I could to level up my life. So one thing that I did that really impacted me tremendously was I made this little sign and I put it up where I would see it every morning and every evening. And it said, "Did you do anything to change your life today?" And it held me accountable. And I still think about that from time to time because we all started falling back into our default places. And that thing, seeing that kept me motivated, kept me on track. And I attribute it to the success that I've had so far and changing my whole life and leveling my life up.
That's great. That's fantastic. I'm
Is
just
that
curious. It
good enough?
counts. It's fantastic.
That was
Just
great.
that
Yeah, that was
mindset.
great.
Yeah. I'm curious where you think about like goals. What's your thought on just setting goals for yourself? Kind of in the same realm there.
Oh, no, I love to set goals for
Yeah.
sure. I think you have to be clear on what you want. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. And one of the sayings is you receive what you believe. And what's interesting is that when I was first starting out as a matchmaker, I had this huge 95 solid black Bronco. It was gorgeous. I loved it. But, it wasn't necessarily fitting with the fancy matchmaker that I was like supposed to be. And I was going to these meetings with these very wealthy men, and they're expecting a sexy Mercedes or something like that. And I'm pulling up in this, big, huge Bronco. And so I would like park it around the corner. I would hide it and everything. And then I remember a friend of mine, when I did finally get the Mercedes, she was like, "Gina, don't you feel better about yourself? You must feel so much better now, whatever." And I said, "No, I don't feel any better. I don't feel any different because even when I was in that Bronco, and while I would sometimes park it around the corner, I still felt like I was in a Mercedes. Like mentally, I always knew that that's where I was. And I never felt like just because I wasn't in the Mercedes that I wasn't mentally in the Mercedes. You know what I mean? Because I had these goals for myself that I knew were attainable and that I was in process of getting them. So, whether I wanted to get my first house, I wanted to get the Mercedes. And then I went back to old trucks and Broncos and stuff. But because you can't let what you're driving or where you're at in life define who you are, because who you are is in here. And so you just have to set your goals and know that they're attainable. You just got to stay on track to get them and not feel insecure about anything.
Love it.
I love that. I love that. And that also tells me that no matter what car you ever buy or drive, Stu, you're still Stu. You have to contend with that.
So you
I'm
might
just kidding.
be in a Tesla, but you're still in a 76 Toyota Honda Civic.
No, no
There you
way.
go.
No way. Gina, one more time. What was the sign that you put out that you looked at every day?
Um, it said, "Did you do anything to change your life today?"
All right, let's go do it.
I love
Let's
that.
go do something to change our life today.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Gina.
Thank you.
See ya.